assault and domestic violence against Native American and Alaska Native women. They are violations of human rights, and also, according to federal trust responsibility, the federal government has a legal obligation to protect Indian tribes and to create safe communities free from sexual violence. These abuses, they impede our process of progress within our communities and make it very difficult to provide safe places to rear our children. Violence against women is against the law, and it is a human right that we have to be safe in our communities. Rape is a human rights abuse, and rape is also an indigenous rights abuse, according to the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples that was recently passed at the United Nations. You would think that tribes could prosecute, whether they're native or non-native, the perpetrators, the violators of rape. However, in 1979, the Supreme Court ruled that tribal courts could not exercise tribal jurisdiction over non-Indians. This ruling of Oliphant versus Suquamish strips tribal authorities of the power to prosecute crimes committed by non-Indian perpetrators on tribal land. This decision is a violation of tribal sovereignty. It denies victims of sexual violence due process and equal protection under the law. The Department of Justice reported that in at least 86% of these cases of sexual assault, that the perpetrator was non-native. Thus, because of this case, the Oliphant case, tribal courts could not prosecute. In other words, if a non-Indian comes into our community and rapes a woman, he can walk off the reservation free from being prosecuted unless the FBI decides to come out of its office far away, in our case Sioux Falls, down to our reservation, which is approximately 150 miles. But why should the FBI come down and prosecute? We have less than 50% of the reservations have trained staff to perform rape kits. So women have to travel long distances off the reservations to get a rape kit. And if they're sent out by contract health care, in our community, you'd have to go 15 miles to the Indian Health Service emergency room, and then another 65 miles to the contracted health care facility that would perform a rape kit. And then because it's not a life endangerment situation, rape, you would get billed for your rape kit. You would get billed for your rape kit. You remember the controversy in Alaska when Palin was running for president, and it was brought to the attention that they were trying to get women to pay for their rape kits? Well, that tells you, well, where her politics are. But it also tells you that rape in Alaska is a horrendous issue, because it's obviously making a big dent in their budget. And it is in the Alaska Native villages. If you're raped on Friday and the plane comes in on the plane comes in on Thursday and you're raped on Friday, then you have to wait a week for that plane to come back and to take you from your community. Well, most women who've been raped will not wait a week to take a shower, and eventually will not go to have a rape kit done because the evidence is all washed away. This is, but there are other problems. So I was talking about the FBI. Why should the FBI come out of their office if we don't have trained staff to do rape kits, and if the government is protecting the rapist from being prosecuted in tribal court and has a witness approval process that is so full of bureaucratic red tape, white tape, that it is impossible to get the forensic examiner, the individual that does do the rape kit, in the event that reservation does have a physician or nurse that can perform a rape kit. Once they're provided or issued a subpoena to testify in court, that process has to go, the subpoena approval process has to go to the service unit director, which is the clinical director. Then from there it has to go to the area office. And then from there it has to go all the way up to headquarters in Rockville, Maryland, usually to fall into some hole, never to be seen or heard of again. It's very difficult in any court of law to get a conviction without a forensic witness. So we have some things that we need you to do to help us.